English 252, What It Means to Me by Jaleesa Alexander. Where we are now. In this one in the class, we discussed 5 African American authors, each of them different, each of them born in a different time during the mid-19th century to the early 20th century. My thesis in my paper stated that authors used literature to express their experience of being African American in America. Paul Laurence Dunbar was the first author I chose. He was born in the late 1800s, but he wasn't born a slave, but his parents were enslaved. In his poem, We Wear the Mask, Dunbar portrays how African Americans wear masks in the face of danger. He suggests that we wear masks to endure the harshness and discrimination of segregation, all while holding on to the hope of a brighter future. Dunbar, Dunbar continued. This stanza is the stanza before the last stanza in his poem. Why would the world be overwise, and counting all our tears and sighs, nay let them see us while we wear the mask? This quote was not in my paper, but it sums up my argument as far as Dunbar is concerned. It's not for all to see the tears and sighs. That's the personal battle. The world should only see the resilience, not the struggle. We had already struggled enough. We had already been put through struggle, and at this time, the American Civil War was over and slavery was ending. Well, slavery was technically over, but it still was a lot going on for black people. So his ideal, his experience, instead of ideal, was to wear the mask so we can make it through it, but to not let people see the toll that the oppression has taken on us to make it. Jean Toomer was also born late 1800s to formerly enslaved parents. He himself was not a slave, but he kind of had the same things Paul Laurence Dunbar going on. But in his poem, Corintha, he decided to show the oppression of African American women. His poem portrayed Corintha as a wild spirit that wanted to be seen more than beautiful. But being a black woman during those times, she had very few opportunities. In the end, she had grown up way too fast and still was stuck using beauty to propel her through life. In his poem, he uses this stanza at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end. Her skin is like dust on the eastern horizons. Oh, can't see it. Oh, can't you see it? Oh, can't you see it? Her skin was like dust on the eastern horizon when the sun goes down. Corintha was only seen as beautiful, nothing more than to be something to be desired by old and young men. Her desires were never met or recognized, and in truth were never even really cared about. But because of the way things happened, like, and then when she was young, she was everything she did to kind of act out was overlooked because she was so pretty. They could only see that, and what ended up happening as a result, she ended up growing up way too fast for the world because the world selfishly wanted her to grow up so they could use her how they saw fit. Gwendolyn Brooks was born early 20th century. Her parents were not slaves at all, but discrimination was still heavy at this time. In her poem, We Real Cool, instead of using oppression of slavery or post-slavery experience, she showed how younger generations wanted to kind of fight back in their own kind of way. She showed what happened when the mask was no longer suitable to wear. Brooks sought to show how the young generation wants to rebel against society instead. Because society had rebelled against African Americans throughout America's whole entire history, she decided to show how the youngsters decided to rebel against what was supposed to be the right thing to do. I feel like they could have rebelled in a different way, but this is what they felt they needed to do to rebel. The issue with how they rebelled was we were already perceived as one way. Being black people, we were perceived as ignorant, and we were perceived as not knowing how to do or not being able to do. And so them skipping school and staying out late and drinking and whatever was kind of making it seem like the stereotypes were correct. But she still added the last sentence of her poem was "We die soon." It let us know that the teenagers still understood that their actions could cause them to die prematurely because black people were getting killed for less at this time period. And they still understood that even though we're going to rebel against this, it still can end our life earlier than we trying to end. In conclusion, American literature in the mid 19th century changed in many ways. African Americans telling their side was a main part of it. They could now express their pain and tragedy through the art of written word. And that's all I got. Thank you.